Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. So today in the Dawah from Children lesson, today I will be speaking about a question that I think that a lot of people have. That question is, why do people in prison become Muslim? That's the question I'm going to speak about today. Why do people in prison become Muslim? So before I get into that, I have to begin as I always do. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So this should be that long, inshallah. So a lot of people always inquire about why in the Western world the prison system seems to be a breeding ground for the growth of Muslims and Islam, particularly amongst the African American male population. So that's the inquiry that people have. Now, everything that I'm going to say is of my own personal opinion from my observation of over 15 years of total incarceration in the adult prison system in the United States. What I have concluded is simple. In prison, if we use our time wisely, we have nothing but time to read, to study, and advance our intellect, if we choose to do so. So if we choose to do so, this is what we have to do. We have time to do. In the free world, there are simply no distractions that can get in the way of reading, studying, and advancing intellectually that don't exist in the prison world. Or if they do, it's at a very minimum need. So I believe that in the African American community and other poor communities in the Western world as a whole, that they adopt religious identification literally with zero study behind it. So if you ask someone or most people in our community, when you meet them in prison, what is your religion or spiritual belief? Most will say that they are Christian, whether it's Lutheran, Pentecostals, Jehovah's Witnesses, etc. That is how they will identify. Now, if you go further and we ask, we simply ask the question, why? Why are you a Christian? The most common answer you will get in here is this. This is the most common answer you're going to get. Because that's how I was raised. So if you ask someone you meet in prison, from our community, from the other community, from the underprivileged financial community, if you ask them what do they identify with as their religion or their spiritual beliefs, most are going to tell that they are a Christian, no matter what denomination or kind they are. But if you ask them why, simple question, why are you a Christian? Most of them will say, because that's how they were raised. So it's not because that's what I believe to be the right path to follow or obey by the Creator, or because I believe in the teaching, the lifestyle of the Baptist, or the Lutheran, or the Jehovah's Witness, etc. But simply because that's how they were raised. That's what they were raised to believe. That is the number one answer you get when it comes to asking in prison why someone identifies with a particular faith or spiritual belief system. So as I said earlier, in the free world, they didn't find that time to actually study. Like I spoke about the distractions. They had to wake up and make breakfast for the kids. They had to get the kids dressed. They had to take them to school. They had to go to work. They had to pick the kids up in school. They had to scroll through Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. They had to smoke their blunt. They had to hang with their friends. They had to go to their concert. They had to go out on a date. They had to play the game. They had to hit that play. They had to do their hair. They had to go shopping. They had to take the car to the mechanic, and then they had to go to sleep. So they had no time in the free world that people have. Most people, especially in the urban community, no time do they have to allocate to the faith that they identify with, that they say that they are, that they believe in. The most they will do is go to a church on a Sunday every now and then, or glance at the Bible on their living room table. Now, this is to take no shots at anybody for what they believe or why they believe it. This is just answering the question of why do people become Muslim in prison, or why do people in prison become Muslim? Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, in prison, where I am right now, we are locked in a cell most of the time in level 4 prisons. In prison, we're locked down most of the time. You know, you're confined to a small space. So in here, we have the time to study. We have the time to read. Very simple. It's easy to believe in something when you have never challenged it or compared it to something else. In prison, that's what people have time to do. Challenge what they were raised to believe in and identify with as their faith. In prison, we can sit down and compare our so-called faith that we had to other faiths and religious or spiritual ideologies. We have time to do that in here. So when people do that in here, they soon begin to identify as Muslims and with the faith that Islam promotes. Not because they were coerced or bullied into it, or because some black Muslims shoved the Quran in their face as soon as they came through the door. No. Because they took the time, they took the opportunity to sit down and challenge the beliefs they were raised on and compare them to others. And we see that in most cases, a lot of the time, Islam wins out. Alhamdulillah. So they have time to come in here and they sit and they compare. What does Christianity teach about the concept of the Creator or God or the Supreme Being or the Supreme Source, whatever you want to call him, and you compare that to Islam? What does Islam say or teach about Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, in comparison with Christianity? And you go with what makes the most sense and is most practical to you. So again, as you see, Islam wins out most of the time. So when you ask a Muslim, why are they Muslim? You will and you should get, because I believe in the teachings of the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or because I've studied it in comparison to other faiths, and it makes the most sense to me. That's what you get from a Muslim who found Islam in prison. That's going to be the answer for a brother or sister who has found Islam in prison. They're not going to say because that's how I was raised. That answer is not sophisticated at all. That means you're a puppet. That's how I was raised. You're just being a follower. So, there are other states that have made it forbidden, some Christian denominations, that have made it forbidden to their followers to study anything else but the doctrine that they promote. That's not good enough. In Islam, the Quran teaches us about the beliefs of the Christians. It teaches us about the beliefs of the Jews. The Quran teaches us about the beliefs of the polytheists, the Muslims, and others. So Islam inherently compares faith to the supreme faith of Tawheed. If what you believe is the truth, then the truth should be able to stand up in comparison to anything else. So in Islam, Muslims do not discourage comparative thoughts, comparative religion or spirituality. In the end, the truth al-haq is firm enough to stand on its own. So, some people like to identify themselves as sheep in the Christian culture. And I would say this is why I despise it, but this is why I go against that wording of the ideology. Because one thing about sheep, the animal, is that they will follow the shepherd anywhere he goes, with no hesitation, with no understanding about their destination. So sheep can be easily misled. They can be easily misguided. If a shepherd walks a flock of sheep, and they're following the shepherd, and he knows that he's walking them into a warehouse where there are 5 wolves or 5 lions that are hungry, and they're in this big warehouse, and they're waiting on the sheep. They're waiting to be fed. And the shepherd walks the sheep directly into the warehouse. Guess what the sheep are going to do? They're going to follow the shepherd to their demise, to their own destruction. So in my opinion, it's not good to be a sheep. It's not good to have a mind state of I am a sheep, because you are just following without knowing your destinations. You are just following without any study, without any challenge to what's going on. So, in short, to answer the question, why do people in prison become Muslim? It's simple. Because they have time to challenge their previous thoughts, their previous beliefs, compare them to others, and when they do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows them the truth of this world. Simple. And I hope people draw from that and can get an understanding of why. Why do people come home from prison and now they're saying they're a Muslim and they're not a Christian anymore, or they're a Muslim and they're not an atheist anymore, or they're not an agnostic anymore? It's because they got the time to sit down and study, something that a lot of people on the streets, they don't got time to do that. Y'all worried about everything else out there, caught up in the dunya. In prison, we can sit down and read, we can sit down and study, literally all day if we choose to do that. All day. I can sit in the cell I'm in right now, and if I chose to read 14 hours a day, every day, I got the time to do that. I got the time to compare what I believe to any other doctrine. I can literally sit here in this cell and do that all day if I chose to do that, wallahi. So it's very simple. It's not because you got a group of Muslims who, everybody that's black or minority, walk through the door, they shove the Quran to their face and throw cookies at them and giving them prayer words. And I think you got to sign up and go to Juma. You got to go to Talim. You got to be a Muslim. No. They got the time to sit in here and read and study. Something that most people in the free world simply don't do. Big facts. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, that made sense. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.